All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We're back with another episode of the Witching Hour. Been a good early slate over here at SHIPIT Nation. The Astros are getting the job done. Hopefully they continue. I know Gyiraszin probably was in the early streets over there, but before I bring in Gyiraszin, if you guys are new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it a ton over here. We're making a push towards 2,000 subscribers. We're at 1,600. Let's see if we can get to 1.75 subscribers here. So see if we can make a push little by little. Hit the like button again. We bring you these shows 6 days a week for free every single day, breaking down every MLB slate. Early slate, nice little 7-game slate going on the early games. But we got 6 games here tonight on DraftKings, 2 more games. I think it's an 8-game slate on FanDuel, but 2 of those games both have weather and are in jeopardy of getting waxed. So we'll definitely hit on that. We'll definitely have to pay more attention if you are playing the FanDuel slate. And I know my guy Gyiraszin is the king of FanDuel over there. I'm going to bring him in, Mr. Local Carney. He's got some plans tonight. Going to hit up the local carnival, put some shades on, drink some Modelo's, have some good time, eat some good fair food. How we doing, Gyiraszin?
Good times, my friend. Good times. As you mentioned, hey, the early slate's looking pretty good, but can't complain about that. But you're right. Beautiful day here in Michigan. Got the local Livonia spree going on up there at the corner. Got all kinds of good carny food I'm going to dive into a little bit, get my fat groove on. Probably have me a little safety meeting on the way, get my eyeballs on, and then look out. But, yeah, excited to look at this baseball. Now, we got 7 games over there on FanDuel. That Washington-Seattle St. Louis game isn't on the slate, but that Arizona or Atlanta and Philly game is on that slate. It's looking a little dicey, but yeah, that one there is definitely looking like. And then that New York game, they're talking there could be a little bit of rain with the New York and Seattle game, which could make that Castillo call a little bit dicey. You don't want him to get out there for a few innings and then all of a sudden have us a rain delay, because chances of generally a pitcher coming out after a rain delay are pretty slim. So, yeah, all kinds to look at here tonight. So kind of excited to dive into it. I mean, there's some big name pitchers up there at the top that I'll be honest, I'm really not interested in, Nades. I mean, just kind of looking, past history haven't been their recent selves here recent, like Yu Darvish, hasn't been himself. We got Ohtani hasn't been himself. Gray hasn't been pitching as well as he had. And then obviously Gray gets a tough matchup against a team that really doesn't strike out. So, I'm sitting down there thinking, am I going to play a potential rookie today that's going to get called up? Am I going to do that? Or am I going to go down to Whitlock in the best hitting conditions today? So we got all kinds of stuff to talk about here, Nate, but looking forward to breaking it down. But, yeah, some interesting stuff going on today. It's such a small little slate, too.
Yeah, you hit on it. It's a very interesting game here, and I already was kind of on the train. You know how I play. I'm a contrarian guy. I know Castillo is probably going to make hoop score as long as the weather is decent, but it is orange risk overall for the game. I was already kind of on the train of Castillo's not as good on the road. And when I'm seeing 55, 60% owned on a pitcher on a short slate, especially when I think these guys are all volatile at the top, I might just say, hey, screw it. I'm going to punt pitching tonight. You got some cheap options that aren't obviously bulletproof by any means, but hey, we've seen these top-end pitchers. Look at Gausman on the early slate. Everyone thought he was bulletproof, and the freaking Marlins got to him. Gyiraszin, you could have went out on the mound and struck out 9 of those Marlins. And
Gausman, I got a fire stick right here, boy. That thing throws rockets.
But, yeah, Gausman could not get the job done. I did not. I went to the Merrill Kelly pivot. Merrill Kelly's pitching good. I'm going to continue to attack my Brewers, man. They're just a woeful team. Very hurtful. I know Titletown. I see him in the chat. Our guy Jay Newen's in the chat. Richie Smalls, Jake Smalls. We appreciate everyone. Marty's in there. We appreciate it. Our guy Hamwich. So if you guys do, hit the like button, please. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. Let's go ahead and try and get to 100 likes this show. I know more will trickle in throughout this show. See if we can get to 100 likes. If we do get to 100 likes, we'll give you the top-ranked hitter, top-ranked pitcher over here on SHIPITNation.com. And look, if you got it yesterday, top-ranked pitcher on the slate was Mr. Cutter Crawford. And guess what? He was very, very needed at his salary. FanDuel, he posted a good game. DraftKings at SP2. He crushed for his salary points per dollar. We talked about him quite a bit. So if we do get to 100 likes, we will give those top-ranked pitcher, top-ranked hitter, run it back for you guys here. But Gyiraszin, without further ado, 6 games on tap, 7 on FanDuel. Let's go ahead and talk on pitching. Obviously include, I think, what is it? Nola starting for Phillies, and then Smith-Shawver starting for the Braves. So definitely include Nola for sure when you break down this top range. We'll talk about Smith-Shawver in the next range because he is 8K on FanDuel. So let's go 9K and above on DraftKings. Let's go ahead and throw Yu Darvish in there as well. So Yu Darvish, Kopech, Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Ohtani, and Aaron Nola. Hit on this range. What interests you? What doesn't? What are you kind of looking at? Because I'm seeing pretty condensed ownership at the top. I mean, Yu Darvish and Ohtani are both going to be right around 30-ish% on DraftKings, and then Castillo will probably push 50+% at least, especially in some higher stakes stuff. So hit on those guys in particular. And then any other interest you do have.
Yeah, I mean, Castillo definitely stands out as the SP1 to me, even though Castillo's ERA on the road is a couple runs higher than at home. Generally, I like Castillo on the road, but man, you look at this Yankee team, man, they're just been god-ass awful here in these last few weeks. Last in runs scored, last in OPS. I mean, without Aaron Judge, they're just lost. So I think that makes Castillo for me and more in play, but you're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that weather, especially as it gets closer. I mean, if the game starts, like I said, and it rains out and gets kind of dicey there 3-4 innings in, that's obviously the disaster scenario. But Castillo for me is number one. I mean, you look at a guy like Ohtani, 31% K rate sitting there, and you're thinking, nah, I just can't do it. I can't do it against a Dodger team that's very patient, low strikeouts. They do walk a lot. Ohtani's been struggling with his control. And I just feel as if, I mean, it's a good pivot just because it's such a short slate, but I'm just not going to pay up for Ohtani. He's 10-7 on FanDuel. Maybe if he was 9-7, I think I'd consider it, but not for 10-7. And then Sonny Gray gets a Boston team that we've talked about many times, just does not strike out. Very low strikeout rate team. So I just not interested in Sonny Gray, especially he's just been struggling a little bit. Kopech against Texas really doesn't do anything for me. Nola, I was actually thinking about maybe attacking Nola if this game is going to play here with Atlanta. Nola struggled a little bit here. I just think that Atlanta lineup is so strong 1 through 9. There's just no breaks in that lineup. Especially with guys like Rosario hitting at the bottom and Michael Harris. I mean, that just is just pure disaster for upcoming pitchers. Nola just isn't anything special here recent. So I thought that one might be a spot where I'd get the Braves a little lower owned. So Nola isn't on there. And then Darvish, he's a wild card. I mean, you're looking at all these guys on a short slate. You think, yeah, Darvish could potentially keep up with a guy like Castillo here tonight. You got a San Fran team that, doesn't really scare you as far as, being a lineup you'd be worried about. But Darvish, I mean, as we were talking before, I mean, this dude's given up 17 earned runs in his last 3 starts, which have gone 20 innings. I mean, man, I can't pay. I mean, I got to see a decent start or two before I can even go there. So, for me, I'm not really looking at any of these guys. I think truly I'm just going to build whatever dang bats I fit and want, and then I'm just going to put in a pitcher I like. And I only got to use one pitcher on FanDuel, which is why I like that platform a little bit better for baseball. But, yeah, I mean, Nades, nothing really stands out except Castillo. And like I said, man, it's going to be an eye watcher just to make sure that weather cooperates.
Yeah, you said it. It is yellow-orange risk over here for Castillo. And, I mean, 50-60% ownership. I mean, obviously ownership's relative right now. It's 3:40 Eastern or Central Time. That will shift a little bit, but I mean, I would be surprised if he's not 45, 50% owned on the slate, just the nature of the pitching. Everyone looks at this Yankees team without Judge. But overall, I mean, this roster that's confirmed strikes out just a 22% clip against right-handed pitching. Castillo hasn't been as good on the road. And then you add in the weather effect and the ownership. I think I'm just fine going to take a stand and just not play Castillo here. I mean, Billy McKinley's starting to hit the ball. He hit a bomb last night. You still got guys in there that can get to him. I mean, Rizzo doesn't strike out, has some power in there. Doesn't strike out a ton, at least at home in Yankee Stadium against right-handed pitching. So I think I'm out on Castillo. Ohtani's interesting to me. We just saw the Dodgers were really hurtful to me last night against Detmers. Obviously, they're a little bit a different team against righties overall, the Dodgers. They just don't strike out either, 22% rate against righties on the road this year. But they don't hit them as hard as they typically hit lefties. So team ISO just 175, especially if that lineup stays the way it is with no Muncy in there. I mean, you got Peralta hitting in the 4-hole projected. You got Outman in there. You got Michael Busch in there. You got Miguel Rojas in there. So guys that just really don't have a ton of threat. I mean, Michael Busch striking out over 40%. You still have Martinez and Outman striking out over 30%. So Ohtani, I think, can get some Ks in this lineup. And, I mean, the Angels should be able to get to Michael Grove a little bit as well. So maybe that helps him, right, when he's out there on the mound, feels a little bit more comfortable. And you think Ohtani's going to go out there, Gyiraszin, on the mound and just let these Dodgers come in and beat him around. I think he's going to play up for this game a little bit here with the Dodgers coming to town and him starting against them. So I do like Ohtani at the top there. He is going to get ownership, but I do definitely like him more than Castillo. And then Sonny Gray is interesting. The only issue I have is, man, he hasn't been the greatest, but this Red Sox team just doesn't strike out. But, I mean, they still got Reese McGuire in there, projected at least. Kiki Hernandez, Jarren Duran. Those guys all strike out right around 30%. So I do think he could have some K upside. I saw it. He doesn't give up a ton. I was just pulling up his last 30 days. The only issue I have is, I mean, the last 30 days, he's got 18% K rate to righties and only a 13% K rate to lefties. So, I mean, that's not very good overall. And for a team that's pretty patient in the Red Sox overall, I just don't know if I can do it. I'm kind of in your boat, right? I'm going to build my bats first on this slate. We got the question yesterday in the chat. What do? Do you start with pitching? Do you start with bats? I think on this slate, I'm going to start with bats overall, stack the teams I want, find the mini stacks, find the one-off, and then play whatever pitching I like that fits. At the top, I guess I would probably go Yu Darvish number one overall. I get it. He hasn't been great, but these Giants just it's a better environment than Minnesota-Boston. Warmest game on the slate overall. Ohtani against the Dodgers. It's still the Dodgers lineup, right? They still got Mookie Betts, Freeman, Will Smith in there, guys that can get to Ohtani. So I'm going to go to Yu Darvish number one, Ohtani number two, and then I think I'm out on the rest of this range, to be honest, at the top. I'd rather pay down here at pitching. I like some of these cheaper guys. Obviously, you got the rookie, so we'll hit on that next. Let's jump into the next range, Gyiraszin. Let's go. We got Blackburn. You got Whitlock. You got Johnny Brito. You got the rookie down there making his start. Hit on the rest of the pitchers on the slate. I mean, Sean Manaea, Michael Grove, Martin Perez, any of those guys interest you. And then obviously definitely hit on the Gavin Williams, because I am seeing about 35% ownership on DraftKings in particular on Gavin Williams. But, man, over his sample size in AAA, 33, almost a 34% strikeout rate in his 9 starts. And I think was the number 16 ranked prospect, right? Making his debut here against the Athletics. So definitely hit on him as a focal point for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Williams is definitely interesting. I mean, this kid is a high-level prospect. He was pretty much rated like around Yuri Perez. So kind of giving you an idea what kind of prospect the kid is. But 33% K rate. He's got an ERA around 2. His WHIP is below 1. I mean, this kid is been legit down in AAA. Now, will that come up to, the majors? I mean, in my opinion, that Oakland lineup is a AAA team. So, I don't think that he's really missing much by getting the A's here in that spot. I mean, I do like the potential. I mean, anytime I see a young kid coming up, I mean, he's going to be all jacked up. Who knows? Family comes in town, all kinds of shit. First start, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what's going on? It's a bit much for a youngster to suck in. We've seen it over and over, some struggles coming out the gate. But hey, on a slate like today, man, we're just looking for something to hang our hat on. I mean, the pitching game here in DFS is about strikeouts. I mean, this kid's got a 33% strikeout rate. I mean, do we really like to attack the A's on a regular basis? Nah, I'd much rather attack the Twins, obviously, for strikeouts. But I mean, for this price here, I don't see why you don't strongly consider it, especially on FanDuel. The Castillo weather, I think, could determine how much more chalky Mr. Williams is, but definitely in play. Some other guys, as you mentioned, Whitlock, again, get Minnesota. They just got all kinds of 30%, almost close to 30% strikeout guys in that lineup. So definitely somebody I'd be interested in there for sure. Whitlock has been pitching pretty well. I believe he's had, 7, 6, 4, and 5 innings, 7, 6, 5 Ks. I mean, he has 46, 44 points. And really, Nades, what I'm thinking, when I look at the slate overall, I ask myself, how many dudes on this slate can literally kill me if I don't have them and I'm dusted? Like last year, there was a handful of pitchers. If you didn't have, one of these guys and pay up to 10 or 11K for a pitcher and they wrapped out a 60 burger on you, you pretty much were toast. It was kind of easy to find a lineup, even with some lower teams that would beat you. So I don't see that here. I see, if Ohtani and any of these high level guys, these top money guys up here we got on the slate tonight, I'm looking at mid 30s in all of them. I mean, I'd be happy if any of them got 45. I'm not paying 11K for a guy I'm hoping to get me 40. If I'm paying 11K or 10.5 for a pitcher, I better be pretty damn sure he's getting me 40 or 45. I mean, and I don't see that here with any of these guys. So that's why I feel like I'm just going to go down to Whitlock. I mean, you mentioned Blackburn too. I think he's interesting against Cleveland, who obviously doesn't put up much runs, don't really hit too many home runs. They don't have the big inning. They're a, base hit kind of team, but Blackburn's been pretty good his last couple starts here, 38, 37 points, 9 Ks his last game against Tampa. I mean, are we more worried about Tampa or we be more worried about Cleveland here? I mean, he put up almost 40 there. So at 6,800 on FanDuel, I think that's a pretty good value play. And I don't think too many people are going to click Blackburn over this rookie or over Whitlock. So I really think you're going to get him at a really huge discount if you wanted to look at somebody like Blackburn. But, down here, I'm just trying to avoid the blow up, right? I'm hoping for a 30 or 40 points, hopefully get 5 innings, 5, 6 Ks. I think we could see that out of a guy like Blackburn tonight. And as we mentioned a little bit, one thing I do like to look at is how the over-unders have progressed throughout the day. And I did mention to you earlier that 3 games have actually moved up a half a point in the over-unders today. That is the Oakland-Cleveland game went from 8 to 8.5. The Texas-Chicago game went from 9 to 9.5. And that Dodgers and Angel game went from 8.5 to 9. Everyone else has stayed the same. But I always find that interesting, to see how some of the betting has been going. So definitely something to think about. I think I'm going to stick in this low range down here. I think Blackburn's going to be the lower owned. I think Whitlock is probably the safest, but I think Williams of this group has the highest upside.
Yeah, a lot to break down, obviously, there. I definitely great breakdown out of you. I did want to say real quick, there's about 190 watching here. Hit the like button. If we do get to 100 likes, we will give our top-ranked pitcher and our top-ranked hitter. Cutter Crawford was actually number 1 on the slate yesterday, even with all those big arms when you factored in. And he was he definitely paid off his price tag and was definitely needed on DraftKings. A lot of winners with Whitlock in the chat. I saw over on our SHIPIT Nation Discord, $59 a month, $5.99 for the year. Does get you access to all of our premium content, our core plays, but more importantly, our tools, our custom proprietary projections, our custom tools like our advanced lineups page to help you build lineups. Look at all the metrics, look at the home road splits, look at their XISO, their WOBA, their K rate, all that. As well as the advanced data for the pitchers, their StatCast data versus right-handed bats, their StatCast data versus lefties, how they rank in terms of the slate, in terms of their K rate and the matchup and everything. I mean, there's literally so much information over here for that price tag, and that's just an MLB. We still got PGA. We got NFL coming around the corner. NBA will be back shortly. NHL, I'll be heading up the NHL stuff. That'll be back. And MMA with the addition of Mr. Title Crown himself. So definitely head over to shipitnation.com. Got the link down there in the description. And $59 a month, $5.99 for the year. Definitely the best price in the industry. And if you do want to add an optimizer, we do partner with The Solver. You can add on the optimizer package, and it's still under $120 a month for all access to all sports on the optimizer and all of our content. So absolutely incredible deal. But I'll break down this range, the rest of these pitchers on the slate. Gavin Williams, I definitely think is a great play here. 5,700. I get it right. Oakland's been a little pesky as of late. I typically haven't been playing pitchers too much against Oakland, but it's been guys at the top, right? That have been expensive, Gyiraszin. I mean, they've been 10K, 11K pitchers, right, that are getting ownership because they see Oakland, and Oakland's kind of got to him a little bit. But 34% K rate on this kid in AAA. You still got, I mean, overall, you got Langelier striking out at 30% clip, Seth Brown striking out at 34% clip, Tyler Wade striking out at 60% clip. Granted, it's only 7 at-bats, but, I mean, you give me a 34% K guy in this lineup overall. I mean, there's only 3 guys in the lineup that strike out under 20%. So I think he can navigate this lineup. 5,700 is just too cheap on DraftKings in particular. So I definitely do like him quite a bit. Stud prospect. I mean, he's in the same caliber as Yuri Perez, like you said, Gavin or Bryce Miller, and Taj Bradley. You just saw what Taj Bradley did today, and they got him kind of in that same caliber as those 3 guys who have all been very good this season. So I definitely like him quite a bit. Whitlock, I love Whitlock. Obviously at 7K, he's my SP1 overall in the slate. I talk about it all the time. I mean, this whole lineup on the Twins strikes out higher than 25% outside of Max Kepler. I mean, you got some guys in there approaching 40% K rate on their sample size. And I mean, we're talking 80, 60, 90 at bats, right? Sample size, and they're still striking out at that clip. I think Whitlock at 7K makes a ton of sense. I will continue to play pitchers against these Twins, and until it beats me, it beats me. So I definitely like Whitlock quite a bit. And then the other guy I did have a little bit of interest in is Blackburn. He's just been good. I get it, right? Typically, I don't play pitchers against Cleveland. He is definitely a distant third for me on this slate with these cheaper guys. I mean, Gavin Williams and Whitlock are a whole tier above Blackburn, I think, especially when you consider salary. But, I mean, Blackburn, it's just the nature of the pitching slate, right? People want to play these guys at the top, and I kind of live in this lower range overall. So, Gyiraszin, I'll kick it to you. Rank your top 3 favorite pitchers on FanDuel, and then I'll give you my top 3 on DraftKings, and we'll go game by game.
I probably won't get to him, but the SP1 is Luis Castillo. I mean, without salary, that's who I'd play. I mean, that'd be my first choice. Just Yankees been so bad lately. Number 2, I would probably say it would be the kid Williams. I think I'd go number 2. And then 3, I think it's a tie between Whitlock and Blackburn. But I mean, Blackburn, you're going to get such a discount. And if any of those 2 guys blow up, I mean, you're going to be way ahead of the field. And 2, we were talking about K rates, and I think something that people don't really know or I really pay attention to, but the average K rate in MLB is 23%. So, you got a kid that's coming up that's 10% higher than the average major league pitcher. That's significant. I mean, that is a pretty big number. So, when we're talking about K rates, just remember the 23% is pretty much is the line. So, when you start talking about guys at 27, 28%, we get excited about 30%. That's only, 6-7% points higher. I mean, we're talking a kid full 10% higher. I think that's why it's so interesting, Nate.
Yeah, I do think it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's not just a 1-game sample, 2-game sample. It's still 9 games in AAA, right? I get it, right? And let's be honest, this Athletics team is not too much further than a AAA roster overall from some of these hitters in here. So I do think he's an elite play here. I'll rank him. I'm staying away from Castillo. Just the weather concerns kind of tipped me over the edge. I already kind of didn't love him too much, especially on the road, especially the Yankees lineup. Doesn't strike out a ton, which is actually crazy. That this lineup that they rolled out, at least at home against righties. So I'm going to go Yu Darvish. I know it's scary, but he does have a pretty healthy projection over here on our SHIPIT Nation site. So I'm going to go Yu Darvish number 1 at the top. I'm going to go Gavin Williams number 2 when you consider the matchup, the strikeout upside. And then I'm going Garrett Whitlock number 3. And then a close 4th would be Blackburn. So those are kind of my 4 guys that I'm going to roll with tonight on DraftKings. But let's do it. Let's jump into game by game. We'll start with the Braves and the Phillies. Obviously, this game probably doesn't play, but we're still going to break it down as if it does. Definitely keep an eye on the weather. 5:40 Eastern or 5:40 Central Time start. So lock time is definitely earlier on FanDuel to include this game. DraftKings left it off. If this game does not play, obviously do not play any of these players. But let's kick it to you. Got the Braves, 4 implied run total. Phillies with a 4.5 run total against Smith Shawver. Aaron Nola obviously on the mound for the Phillies. That's why the Braves run total is down. But still the Braves offense against a righty on the road. 20% K rate, 232 expected ISO on the road so far this year against righties. You said you want to attack Nola a little bit if this game does play. What Braves bats are you looking at? And then any Phillies for you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought definitely if this game was going to play, I might have to have a little sprinkle of some Braves, especially how hot they are. 1 through 9, obviously really good. I mean, thinking about some of the lefties I'd be looking at, Albies been smashing it. I mean, Olsen definitely would be in play here for me. And then Rosario and then even Harris. I mean, you could even leave Acuna out of that stack if you wanted to. But, hey, if we're going to not pay for pitching, shit, we might as well throw Acuna in our stack, Nades. I mean, that's the great point about paying down on pitching. So, I like to wrap around with Harris there. And don't mind Rosario. You can go 7, 9, 1. If you wanted to go all the way down to Olsen, that might be stretching it a little bit. But, yeah, I don't mind it at all. I thought it was interesting and definitely something that you're going to get the Braves that probably – throughout the season are probably going to have the most ownership throughout the whole year. And this is a slate probably not going to get the ownership. So I like to look at stuff like that. So definitely was interesting, especially against a pitcher that's shown that he can be blown up a little bit. Definitely did like that. As far as the Philly side goes with the rookie, I mean, this Philly lineup is scary as well. So, I mean, Kyle Schwarber's basically home run or bust. I don't mind him. Anybody really in the top 5 of this lineup here for Philly is, somebody you could maybe look at as a one-off, but I didn't really get too far into this game. Just been so concerned about the weather. Thought if I went anywhere, it'd be Braves. Definitely didn't like any of the pitching here, but yeah, I'm just kind of resorted to the fact this game probably isn't going to go because it's not looking good at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to play through rain the entire game from what I'm seeing. So it is definitely a risk. I haven't looked at the schedules or anything like that, if there's a double play or a double header possibility or anything. But, I mean, if they do play, it's just going to be kind of consistent rain throughout. I don't see like any crazy rain coming where if they're playing through it, they're just going to continue playing through it, I think. So if it does start and plays, I think it's going to play, but it is going to be slippery and kind of crappy conditions. But I definitely would have more interest on the Braves side. I mean, Acuna, Riley, and Ozuna all have incredible numbers against Nola in their career. They all are in double-digit strikeouts, but I mean, they all have. Acuna has 4 home runs. Ozuna has 4 home runs. Austin Riley has 5 home runs. Finally hit a home run yesterday, I think, right? And he wasn't even on the main slate. The dude's been ice cold for a week. Hits a bomb. And you can't even play him. So that's typical Austin Riley there. But at just $3K on FanDuel, $3K for Ozuna, I think makes a lot of sense. 2,800 for Michael Harris. So my favorite would kind of be like a 9-1, 3-4 stack, kind of a little wrap there. Leave Albies out. Leave the rest of these guys out. But I definitely do think the Braves are in play. No interest really for the Phillies if I'm playing over there. Next game on the slate, another weather concern in this one, Seattle and the Yankees. It looks like it might start on time here, but there's a good chance that it does get delayed with storms moving in. I typically shorter slate. I just think there's other spots here that you can look at overall than targeting some of these weather games. But do you have any interest in any of the Seattle bats and any of these Yankees against the highest one pitcher on the slate?
Yeah, I'm not interested in any Yankees. obviously against Castillo, I'm not going to go there. As far as maybe some of these Seattle guys, Brito he's just nothing special. Obviously, I don't mind Seattle here. Like I said, a little concerned about the weather. I see, Detox there asked, would you prefer France or Kalenic in a two plus base bet? I could probably find a couple guys better than that to bet on that. But if I had to, you made me choose, I'd pick Kalenic. This game, I just haven't been happy with Seattle offense. They're just not putting up numbers that I feel are going to win me a GPP. So I'm kind of they're almost borderline getting into that Cleveland territory for me, to where they're just not hitting enough. They're not getting it done. I mean, it's just in a cash game scenario, maybe, but I just don't see too many blow up games coming out of that Seattle offense. And especially against the Yankee bullpen, who Nade's, that one show I said, that it was funny. I said, yeah, the Yankee bullpen isn't that good coming out. Well, that's what I meant. The back half of that bullpen was good. A guy came in, gave up like 6 runs in that game too. And that's what I mean. When you get in that short bullpen, it's rough. I mean, that's your best case scenario. If you get the Brito and they can get, a guy in there, maybe the 4th inning, I think that's your best case scenario. But if he goes 5 and you start getting in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, yeah, you're going to run into some trouble. So I don't know. I just don't like it. It's just, they just don't hit enough for me, man. That's why I was like looking at Atlanta. I'm like, shit, Atlanta always, Atlanta goes off, they go off, man. They're hitting homers, and 2, it's just Seattle, New York's a decent park for hitting too. You don't mind it. I mean, you prefer lefties. So, you're talking about that 2+ base bet. You're hoping for a ground rule double over that 4 or 5 foot wall out there in right field, or whatever you want to get, or a short park homer. I mean, that's why you play Kalenic in that scenario. But I don't know, Nate. They're just better spots. I'm just off this game, and plus the weather is making me worried a little bit. But always remember, if you're worried about a game, you look at the MLB app and it'll say warm up. If it says warm up, that means they're on the field and they're warming up. If it's like 10 minutes before the game and it still says the game time on that app, they're not warming up, and that game's probably going to be in a delay. So I like to look at that. Make sure it says warm up. That means my guys are on the field. They're getting ready to play. So just a little tidbit there from somebody who's been playing this shit forever.
Yeah, no, great breakdown. I definitely have more interest in Seattle than it sounds like you do. I just think they go a little overlooked here, and Brito is not good. I mean, 12% barrel rates, K rate under 17%, expected ERA up near 6. Mariners do have a pretty decent total for the nature of the slate. I would definitely look at the right-handed power in particular, because Brito does allow a 283 ISO against righties. He's a little bit better in terms of power against the lefties. Obviously, it's still Seattle. They still have some power lefties like Kalenic, Cal Raleigh, if he's in the lineup. Overall, I mean, he's allowing a 32% fly ball rate to lefties too. So, I mean, you start getting that ball up in lefties with a short porch in right field over in Yankee Stadium. The ball could fly out of there. Again, it is a weather game, but I do think Seattle is definitely in play for me in terms of stacks. I'm just really home run hunting, just kind of full stacking them up. I won't look at kind of individual bats too much. I mean, Cal Raleigh has a 302 expected ISO. Even Mike Ford, it's only 17 plate appearances, but 299 expected ISO against right-handed pitching on the road. Tio Hernandez, Jared Kelenic. I would kind of look more at that 4 through 8 guys are more the guys for me. You can certainly include Julio Rodriguez in there. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit more. So I do have more interest in these Mariners than it sounds like you do overall. On the Yankees side, for me, just Billy McKinley. I'll continue to bring this guy up. 16 plate appearances in Yankee Stadium, 382 expected ISO against right-handed pitching. I'm already not going to play Castillo, so I definitely don't hate taking a bat or two against him, because if Castillo gets there, I'm going to be dead. If he doesn't get there, I like to have a little bit of a piece that hopefully I think it does some damage to get Castillo to not have a winning lineup score overall. So I would definitely look at some of these power guys, Billy McKinley, Josh Donaldson, Rizzo, guys like that. Jake Bauers even leading off up there, I think makes some sense. But overall, not a ton of interest on the Yankee side for me. Next game, let's talk about it. The Athletics facing the stud prospect and Gavin Williams making his major league debut. The Guardians were the chalk yesterday. I did not play any Guardians yesterday. They scored, 3 runs, 4 runs. Just typical Guardians, right? Gyiraszin, they just don't hit home runs unless it's Jose Ramirez. Josh Naylor might hit a bomb or two here. Josh Bell, Corpse might hit one. But overall, I mean, up and down this lineup, they just don't have a ton of power outside of J-Ram. And Blackburn's been good. 25.3% K rate on the year, barrel rate under league average at just 6.5%. Expected ERA approaching right around 3, which is one of the best, if not the best, on the slate. Are you going to play any of these Guardians? Because they do have a pretty healthy total. And then I think the Athletics are a pretty easy cross-off spot for me. But where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I'm not going to either side of this one. I mean, the only guy I'd probably consider playing on the Indians is probably Ramirez, but I just can't do it. I do respect Blackburn a little bit here today. I just don't think they get to him. I actually like the under in the first 5 innings of this game, actually, tell you the truth. I think that one's interesting, especially with Williams being on the other side. Now, with that being said, if you're MMEing and you're playing maybe 20 teams and you do have some Williams, I suggest you stack 1 or 2 with the Oakland A's, just in case. I mean, because it is a rookie. We do see tendencies for rookies to get blown up, no matter how good they are. You just don't know. So, and then, you never know. It could definitely happen. I especially on a short slate, I don't mind it at all. So I think that's something you definitely might want to consider. But yeah, definitely not interested in any of these A's at this price or at this point here with Williams. But yeah, I'm going to pass on the bats here. But like I said, I think I'd be looking at it under in the first 5.
Yeah, I definitely like that a little bit too. I don't love a ton for bats. My only bat I would look at for maybe the Guardians would be a one-off, either J-Ram there at third base, 5K, or Josh Naylor, 3,600 is a nice price tag for him. Low strikeouts, pretty good at power against righties at home on the season so far. One thing to note, I was trying to look at Gavin Williams splits a little bit at AAA because these Athletics did roll out 6 lefties in this lineup overall. Obviously trying to play the splits advantage. I have not pulled up any of his splits in terms of his minor league stats, but again, I still think he can navigate, especially at that price tag. I mean, it's just a price tag thing for me on DraftKings, 5,700. I do prefer the 2 cheaper guys in the 6K range over on FanDuel more than him because I think he's 8,300, something like that on FanDuel, right? Gavin Williams? Yeah, I like Whitlock cheaper and then even Blackburn cheaper on FanDuel overall personally. That's just how I like it, especially with more guys. Name recognition, just going to go to Gavin Williams because they're playing him on DraftKings, so they might just play him on FanDuel as well. But definitely not a ton of spot here for bats overall. I like both pitchers a little bit, and I typically don't play the Guardians too much, and same thing with the Athletics. So pretty easy cross-off spot. Next game, the best hitting weather on the slate in Minnesota here, the warmest game. Overall, I mean, humid. It's 89 degrees right now in Wisconsin, about 5 hours or so from the Twins Stadium, and it's been humid. So I do think the ball is going to jump a little bit, but it's still Sonny Gray in the mound. It's still Whitlock. I have interest in both pitchers a little bit, at least to an extent. And I saw it in the chat. Sonny Gray has given up 1 home run, I think, this year in his 70-some innings pitched. So it's tough, right? When you're playing DFS, you want the home runs. Obviously, you guys got guys like Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas that do have a little bit of power in there, Justin Turner, Verdugo. But overall, I don't have a ton of interest, to be honest, in the Red Sox. On the Twins side, I like Whitlock quite a bit. So I don't play the Twins too much. Max Kepler would be the only guy I would look at. He has definitely been hitting a little bit here. Pretty low strikeout rate, but I'm not trying to stack up a team that strikes out over 30% clip, 8 out of their 9 hitters in their lineup.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got interest in Whitlock. Like you mentioned, the Twins do strike out quite a bit. But, mentioning Sonny Gray hitting homers and all that, I don't give a shit how many homers he gives up. He gives me less than 6 innings and gives up 3 single solo shots. I don't care. Gets me a quality start, gets me a win. But in DFS, it's all about strikeouts, man. And if you're going against a team in the Boston Red Sox who literally do not strike out, I mean, it's pointless. Unless your pitcher is like on point, just like a on point DeGrom or somebody, then where it don't matter who the hell they're facing, then that's a different story. But we haven't seen that at all in MLB this year. Strider's come a little bit close to that, but I just I'm gonna pass on all of the offense here in this game. I'm just gonna let anybody else play if that's what they want to do. I just think there's better spots. I'm not going to go there. If you're looking for any one-offs, I mean, if you wanted to look at, maybe like somebody like a Devers, if you wanted to go there, I don't mind that. If you want, I mean, Julian's leading off for Minnesota. He's been pretty decent here recently. But Buxton, I mean, to me, that Minnesota, I said it before, that Minnesota team goes when Buxton goes. When Buxton's hitting, that Minnesota team hits. And Buxton's not been doing very well recently, and that team's struggling. So I just can't do it. But I mean, I don't mind Devers. You just got to pay up for him. I mean, you're going to have some salary there. I mean, Sonny Gray isn't nothing special. I still think there's better spots though to be had tonight than really to try to force anything here. But like I said, Richie Smalls, Devers as a one-off. I mean, that wouldn't be my first choice, but if I was looking for somebody, that's probably somewhere where I'd go. I just nothing really stands out as far as like, if I miss out on this guy. I mean, you got Duran leading off, Verdugo, Turner, then Devers. I mean, they're pretty much almost all lefty here tonight. So that could be another problem for Mr. Gray. But I mean, if you want to look at, who I think probably would have the best shot to hit a homer, it would be Devers, Yoshida maybe. But really after that, I mean, I'd just probably use them as one-offs.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I do think people might flock to this game a little bit when they look at the weather. Best hitting, warmest weather on the slate, 90 degrees, pretty much the entire duration, right around, 86 to 90 degrees the entire duration. The wind is kind of blowing in slightly, so that does hurt a little bit. But, I mean, it is humid, very humid in Minnesota as well, 57% humidity over there roughly. So overall, I mean, I don't have a ton of interest in either side of this game for bats. I mean, sure, you can always play Devers as a one-off. Tristan Casas continues to be cheap, has some power, 342 expected ISO over his 85 plate appearances against righties on the road this season. But typically I don't play the Red Sox outside of Fenway too much, and I haven't played the Twins all year, so it's not going to start here tonight. Pretty easy stay-away spot, but I do think we got interest in both sides of this next game. At least I do myself in the Rangers and the White Sox. Martin Perez has just not been good. Low strikeouts, expected ERA right around 5. He does limit hard contact a little bit, but I mean, you still got Luis Robert in there, Eloy Jimenez. My guy Jake Berger's in there against a lefty smasher, 3,800. I like him batting in the 6th hole quite a bit. Andrew Vaughn's been good. Hit on this game because I definitely think both sides of this game are definitely in play on this overall pretty weak offensive slate.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, shit, White Sox used to be a team. When I saw a lefty, I was all about it. I mean, that's what you used to look for. White Sox, lefty, sign me up, right? I mean, Roberts' numbers against lefties are great. Berger, as you mentioned, numbers are great against lefties. I do think 1 through 6, but Martin Perez is a guy I've stacked against over the years, and he just doesn't seem to get blown up that much. It just doesn't seem to happen. So I think the blow up thing, which we're looking for, I just don't like the odds of that happening. Now, I do think they could get to him. I like 1 through 6 of this lineup. It starts getting to Clint Frazier, Andrews, and this Remillard at the bottom. I'm not really all that enamored with that. So really 1 through 6 is about as far as that I'd be looking at. I mean, you got Benintendi leading off lefty. I think that's interesting. But Roberts definitely in play today. I think he's one of the top bats on the slate. And then when you look at Kopech and you look at some of these guys here against righties, I mean, Corey Seager's just been smashing. I mean, if you were going to look for any game really that you would say any slate that you wanted a game stack, this would probably be my first choice of a game that I'd want a game stack. I think I would just probably go full out game stack here if I was to be looking at stacking the White Sox, or maybe like on FanDuel a 4-2, and then maybe throwing a couple one-offs if you want. But I mean, you're definitely going to have the salary to stack this game up if you wanted to go lower at pitcher, because I mean, both lineups here are can be expensive. I mean, Seager's expensive, Simeon's expensive, Robert's expensive. Jimenez is getting up there. So, I mean, definitely game stack potential for sure. Now, as far as one or the other, I think I'd prefer the White Sox here against Perez. But I do lay caution that, like I said, it's just I've been doing it playing so many, so long. You just remember guys that you're like, oh man, it should be a good matchup. I like this, and then it just doesn't pan out. It happens to you a few more times. You're just like, son of a bitch, I'm not stacking against that guy next time, and he's one of them guys for me.
Yeah, great breakdown overall, for sure. Kopech has been better in the last 30 days, looking at his last 30 days numbers, but I mean, historically, he just right-handed power. He struggles against. He allows 30% plus fly balls to both sides of the plate. And this Texas, I mean, they got guys 1 through 9 that can hit bombs. I think everyone in this lineup can hit home runs. We've seen it this year. Mitch Garver, Jonah Heim, Duran, Leody Tavares down there should be batting ninth. The nice thing about the Rangers, too, is they pretty much keep their top 6 the same every single day. So these guys know where they're going to hit. They're kind of ready for it. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats. I do like the Rangers quite a bit on the slate. Corey Seager, Josh Young is absolutely on fire right now. Adolis Garcia continues to hit bombs. Overall, I mean, 1 through 9, Rangers are in play for me. White Sox, I think White Sox are more mini stack overall for me. I just can never get stacking against Martin Perez, right, ever. But, I mean, they do have a lineup better suited for lefties, and especially a lefty that is a low strikeout lefty like Martin Perez is. Same hitting weather, obviously, in Chicago, pretty solid overall. I think actually when you account for the wind and everything here, it's probably the best weather on the slate, I would say. I mean, right around 70 degrees the entire duration, wind kind of blowing straight across the field. It's humid. It's even more humid there, 65% humidity in Chicago. So, hey, I do think the ball is going to fly out of here a little bit in Chicago. Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Jake Berger would be kind of my preferred 4 for the White Sox. So I definitely like the mini stack a little bit more, but Rangers, I mean, 1 through 9, definitely a 5 stack for me. Next game on the slate, Dodgers and the Angels. Before we jump into that, I see we have about 230 people in here watching. We did get past 100 likes, so I will give the top hitter and the top pitcher out. Let's see if we can push to 140 likes. If we get to 140, I'll give the top 3 out for hitters because there is an interesting guy in the top 3 over here on our metrics. I mentioned him earlier on the show. So if we can get to 140, I'll definitely give that out, and I'll give the top 2 pitchers on our proprietary tools over here for the people for responding. So we definitely appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Once we do, we are going to run a giveaway over here for YouTube members for an annual giveaway or an annual membership, I do believe, at least at minimum an annual giveaway or a membership, which is valued at $600 roughly, $599. So let's talk about it. The Dodgers, very hurtful last night, let down against Detmers. Now they face Ohtani. But I do think one side of this game is I at least have some interest in the Angels. The only shitty part is when Ohtani's on the mound, you still can't play him as a hitter, even though he is in the lineup as a hitter. Absolutely incredible talent he is. It's one of the best things I've seen, right? His talent is absurd. His pitching, his hitting, just all around. DraftKings, FanDuel need to figure somehow to be able to play him both at the pitcher position if you want to and at a hitter position. Make a different name, do something. But overall, definitely hurts being able to play these Angels a little bit when you can't roster Ohtani for hitter stats. But they're facing Michael Grove, 10% barrel rate on the year, strikeout rate right around 22%, expected ERA 5.32. I'm not a Michael Grove guy, so I do have interest in these Angels on this slate. Do you, Ryzen?
Yeah, I definitely have some interest in the Angels. I mean, I follow bullpen stats, and that Dodger bullpen sucks lately. I mean, they've been almost as bad as the A's have been. Like, literally, their ERA now is like second to the A's. I mean, they've been just bad lately. And then you got a guy like Grove. I mean, shit, I'd be surprised if he gets you to four innings. I mean, I'm going to get that Dodger bullpen. I mean, sign me up here. As you mentioned, it does suck that these donkeys on FanDuel and DraftKings can't figure out how to make him a hitter. on the day he pitches, I don't know why you can't just make him Ohtani hitter, Ohtani pitcher. Hey, there you go. Give me a job at one of these freaking companies for $1 million a year. I can figure that shit out real quick for you, you donkeys. But either way, I love ripping on them sites. The other day too, freaking FanDuel, $4,444 Q. Well, why don't you just kiss the asses of your top 1 percentile players and just give them a seat? What the flip? That shit pisses me off. But either way, I definitely like the Angels here tonight. Angels been one of the top 4 hitting teams in all of MLB for the last 2 or 3 weeks, Nades. I mean, they've been smashing. So definitely like that against a bad bullpen. I think people might shy away from the Angels just because they're going to think you can't get Ohtani. So Angels for me, it's a late night game too. So that's another reason why I think people stay off. They don't like to wait until, even though this game is at 9:30, about a half hour, little sooner than normal, but still. And one thing I do worry about a little bit too, Nate, sometimes you'll see these West Coast games at like weird times. You got to worry about them shadows, especially over there in Dodger Stadium. Them first couple innings get pretty brutal with the shadows, and it's kind of tough for them guys to see. So, I got to kind of watch that. But 9:30 shouldn't be bad. At 6:30, you might see an inning or two of some shadows, but definitely something to kind of think about. But yeah, give me some Angels. I think that game could definitely be a high-scoring affair, even if Ohtani is pitching for the Dodgers. If Dodgers get to Ohtani, I could definitely see this game going over the number. It's bumped up a little bit here. But for me, give me the Angels. I think the Angels are in a great spot here tonight. One of my favorite stacks.
Yeah, I love the Angels. I think the Angels are my favorite stack overall on the slate. And hey, if you guys, I see the chats loving Gyirasin's energy over here. If you guys love it, hit the like button. We definitely appreciate it over here at ShipItNation.com. And our guy Gyirasin's going to fire up a little safety meeting on the way to the local carnival, pop some beers back, put the shades on, go lurking at the local carnival.
Be the creepy old man up at the spree. You're trying to wonder, 18 or not 18, 21 or not 21. That's why you stay in the beer tent, guys, because they got to be 21. And you don't feel like such a fucking creep. But, it is what it is. Good times. But I just like the carny food, to be honest. I'm a fat guy. I like to eat. So, caramel apples with some nuts on them, especially after a safety meeting. You got to smash some goodie. So it'll be good times. But, hey, real quick shout out. My boy Bobby Gomes in the chat there. Bobby, good to see you. Last time I saw you, I think we were in Miami at a live final there, and that COVID bull crap was going around. Didn't get to see you after a while. But good times. Always had when Mr. Gomes is in the presence.
Yeah, Mr. Gomes, talk about a heater himself. I mean, that dude, call him Bobby Gasoline over there. He's cooking with gasoline in the MLB streets. So, hey, you can catch Bobby Gomes in our Ship It Nation Discord over here as well. Obviously, he does content as well for Roto Grinders. Great dude. Absolutely great dude. I'm good buddies with him as well. Mr. Gomes, we love to see it. But, yeah, this game, Angels for me, 1 through 9, I think are in play. Obviously, you cannot play Ohtani at the hitter, batting second. But I still think Moniak, batting leadoff. I think he hits a bomb here tonight. 3,500 on DraftKings, 2,800 on FanDuel. Has 301 expected ISO at home in Angel Stadium against righties. In his 37 plate appearances, Mike Trout, Brandon Drury, Taylor Ward, Chad Wallach's in there. I like him more against the lefty, but the dude's been hitting the ball pretty well. And Andrew Velasquez down there at the 9-hole. I mean, this dude's just been stealing bases. 2,300 on DraftKings at the shortstop position, 2,100 on FanDuel. I think he's an excellent value play, especially at the shortstop. Nice little wraparound stack there. Go a 9-1-2 or a 9-1-3-4 stack, something like that on FanDuel. Include Ward in there on DraftKings. I think that's a great way to play the Angels overall. And the Dodgers. Still the Dodgers offense. I get it. It's Ohtani, but Ohtani has not been as elite on the mound as of late. You still got power in this lineup with JD Martinez, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, but I definitely prefer the Angels side. I do think the Dodgers, you can always play them. They will be low owned here against Ohtani, and typically I like the Dodgers. Some of these high-powered offenses, you talked about it with the Braves, right? When people just don't want to play them, hey, sometimes you just pay up for probability with these big bats. But overall, I definitely think there's better spots on the slate. But, yeah, Angels definitely the top stack for me of the night. Last game of the evening, we got Mr. Yu Darvish. I know Gyiraszin did not have a ton of interest in Mr. Shitty Yu Darvish on how he's pitched lately. His only good game in his last 4, I think, came against the Cubs. But, hey, Gyiraszin can go out there and fire some gasoline against the Cubs and strike those guys out. But now it's the Giants at home. Obviously not the greatest hitters park here, but you still got guys in this lineup that can drop bombs. Jock Peterson, J.D. Davis, Conforto, Yastrzemski continues to hit the baseball pretty well. Do you have any interest in these Giants against Mr. Yu Darvish? And then what about the Padres? Because I do see the Padres getting a little bit of love here against Manaea and kind of a bullpen game here for the Giants.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in too many of the Giants, even though I'm just not a fan of Darvish. I mean, Darvish obviously could have a great game. I see him projecting well. There's just some different spots. But if I was MMEing, I'd definitely have me some Giants. But as you guys all know, I usually only play 1 or 2 lineups. So Padres now against Manaea are definitely interesting. Tatis and Machado are definitely standing out to me against the lefty there. So I think, that's a place that I'd definitely be looking at. I also like Bogarts here a little bit. Gary Sanchez is somebody that you could look at, but San Diego is just another team. 1 through 9 looks good. Really no breaks in that lineup. So you're going to have a guy Manaea coming out. I do expect, Walker probably inning or 2, and then you'll probably see Manaea for probably up till 6 or so. So you probably get a couple at bats against that lefty there. So, I mean, I definitely do like me some San Diego bats. I think it's more of a mini stack for me, especially with like Machado. Like I said, the righties, Machado, Tatis, Sanchez, you can get fairly cheap. Bogarts is still cheap. I think that's pretty much where I'd land. Soto's been pretty hot though recently, but I think the Padres are definitely interesting. They're coming up probably about maybe 3rd or 4th for me in my stack range, but definitely interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I do think some of these Giants make a little bit of sense, but I just rather not pick on Yu Darvish. I do have him, all things considered, at the top range, my favorite out of all those guys up at the top. So not a ton of interest in these Giants. You can always play Jock Jams there, bat and lead off likely again. Lamonte Wade might make the lineup again tonight. He did get scratched last night, so I'm not sure if he's dealing with an injury, what's going on there. So if he's definitely in that lineup too, he's got a ton of power, should be batting 1-2. Him and Jock typically bat 1-2. So definitely have some interest in him, lefty versus righty there for both of those guys against Darvish. Padres, definitely interesting to me. Fernando Tatis, I mean, I think 1 through 9, you can play these guys. Gary Sanchez, in his 13 plate appearances, has smashed left-handed pitching overall, which, I mean, you're going to get probably 2 at-bats at least out of Gary Sanchez versus Manaea here in this game, especially if the opener kind of mows the top 3 guys down and top 4. Gary Sanchez hitting in the 6 hole. I mean, he might be one of the first hitters to see Manaea. So he could definitely launch one here. Trent Grisham's actually got really good numbers, lefty on the season in terms of power. 2,700 on DraftKings, 2,600 on FanDuel. I think he makes some sense. 410 expected ISO in his 25 plate appearances on the road this year against lefties. But yeah, Padres, definitely not one of my favorite stacks overall, but they've been starting to hit the ball a little bit, and overall offense is pretty weak on this slate outside of the teams we talked about. I think I prefer Angels a little bit more, definitely the Rangers and White Sox game a little bit more personally, and then some of Seattle against Johnny Brito too, more than the Padres. I just haven't played the Padres too much, but definitely head over to SHIPITNation.com. Our guy Hoop, who's been absolutely on a heater over here, does a GPP slate plan every single day. He might have the Padres written up. I have not looked at his content yet, but he's been on the Padres train, and it's pretty hard to fade Mr. Hoop right now. Made a good run at the Millie last night as well. Did not get all the way home, but the dude just continues to print over here in the MLB streets. That's going to do it. We got 118 likes. Let me go ahead and give our top-ranked pitcher and top-ranked hitter like I did promise. We'll start with the pitcher, and on our tools over here looking at StatCast data, everything. It's interesting. Mr. Shohei Ohtani is actually ranked number 1 here against the Dodgers. Definitely will be lower owned on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but it wouldn't be shocking to see Mr. Ohtani come out here and throw a gem against these Dodgers, especially if it's still a watered-down lineup like they rolled out last night, because Mr. Detmers just mowed down this team pretty good last night overall. And then our top-ranked hitter, I talked about him in that last game, Mr. Jock Peterson. Jock Jams himself is overall our number 1 ranked hitter over here. But before we do end the show here, Gyiraszin, give me your top hitter and your dawn call and your top pitcher on this slate overall.
I mean, my top pitcher is Castillo, but I don't know if I'm going to get up there. I'm going to play with some lineups, see if I want to pay up for him today. I'm just not sure. I'm going to watch that weather. But if not, I'm going with the kid. I'm just going to go with that kid. I mean, 10% higher strikeout than the average. I mean, 33% strikeout rate. I mean, we're getting an Oakland team that I'm just not worried about. It's a AAA team anyway. So I don't mind that at all. I think that's actually a great play. And then my favorite hitter of the day, I think, I think Robert's my favorite hitter of the day, Lewis Robert. I mean, his numbers are just, you can't deny them. I mean, the guy's just a beast. I think he's probably going to hit a homer today. So give me Lewis Robert is my favorite bat of the night.
All right. Well, I like it. Shouldn't be too high on there with Mr. Robert against the freaking Martin Perez, little strikeout guy. And, hey, they definitely crush lefties. The Chicago White Sox do. I talked about this guy a ton. I'm going to ride the Garrett Whitlock trade tonight against the Twins. I just can't ignore the strikeout upside. I get it. He's not an incredible strikeout pitcher himself, but he is still over 20%. And, hey, I'm going to side on the team of swing and miss. The weather's great there, but, hey, like you said, Gyiraszin, it's hard to get hurt when you gotta put the ball in play for the weather to matter, right? And I think Mr. Whitlock can get some swing and misses here. So I love his price tag on DraftKings. I'm siding with Mr. Whitlock. And I already talked about this dude. My favorite stack of the night. I'm going with the $3,500 leadoff hitter, Mickey Moniak, to hit a bomb here tonight off Mr. Grove and that woeful Dodgers bullpen as of late. I think the Angels drop a hammer tonight. Double-digit runs I'm calling for the Angels tonight here. But that's going to do it for the SHIPIT Nation Witching Hour show. We stretched out 6 games, broke it down very, very in-depth, went the full hour. My guy Gyirazin's got a safety meeting called. He's got the local carnival to head to. But for Gyiraszin, I'm Nades. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch you on tomorrow, which is what? Thursday, right? Thursday. I will not be here. Mr. Gyiraszin and maybe Hoop. Maybe Hoop will make a return tomorrow. So we appreciate everyone tuning out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on the way out. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.